Hi everybody, welcome back. Now this week for locals I'm going to be playing a Drytron Buster Blader deck. Now there's not exactly a whole lot of synergy between them, the two archetypes, except for the fact that they're level 1. The other really good thing about the Buster engine is that it only requires your normal summon. It doesn't special summon any monsters during your turn, so it plays around the Drytron restrictions. And I find that just gives you some other plays. For example, if you were playing the fairy build and your herald gets stopped, yes, you have the orange lights in your hand, but this provides you with a second level of defense if your first level is stopped. So you can fall back on the prologue and the Buster lock as a follow-up, which is really good. Now I'll go through the deck list and explain the choices as I go. I'll start off with the Buster engine that we're playing. It's not a very large engine, but for the monsters, we're playing the 3 Buster Whelp. This is our main normal summon. Because we're playing this build, we can also play a card like Wear After. Yes, of course, it plays more into Droll, being a search card, but I've cut down the emergency via copy as well. So it just gives us more search for the Buster Whelp as our normal summon. If we already open Prologue, we don't need to worry about searching Buster Whelp, as we have ways in our extra deck of accessing dragons, so that our Buster engine is also live that way. But the next card is Dragon Buster Distraction Sword. It's probably a win more card. Definitely would be one that gets sided out a lot of the time, because really once you've established, if you can establish the Buster lock, they're not really going to be accessing the extra deck all that much either anyway. So having this on top of the Buster lock is probably not necessary, but we're going to play it anyway and just see how that goes. And I'm playing just one Buster Blader. I'm playing the Distraction Swordsman version. This means that if we hard open the Buster Blader, our engine is just ruined because we don't play a second. In my mind, I'm playing, it's the same logic as Brilliant Fusion and Garnet. You're not going to play 2 Garnets really. It's not really that good. Same as like with, if you're playing Dragoon, you're not going to play 2 of all of the pieces in case you hard or 2 Red Eyes Fusion. You don't really do it. So I'm going to play with the 1 Buster Blader, and if we open it, well, that's just unfortunate, and we're just playing Drytron from there. But that's the Buster Blader monsters that we are playing. So again, with Wear After, we have 6 ways of getting into the Buster Blader as our normal summon. For the Drytrons, playing 3 Alpha, 3 Zeta, 3 Gamma, and I know that the super rares have just been announced for this in the Mega Tin, so cannot wait for that. That'll be exciting. 2 Delta, and in this build I'm playing 1 Beta. So it's fairly standard, I guess, as far as Drytron goes. Maybe it's more than what some lists would play, and of course, I'll put this here as well, just the ritual monster as well. Now in this specific build, because we're playing only an engine of fairies, we're not really playing the full package, this becomes a lot more important. It becomes one of our turn 1 boss monsters that we're kind of ending on, and because we're playing more Drytrons, we're not really too afraid of banishing them for Meteornus. Usually at the end of turn 1 we've always got a Mu Beta in grave, so we can banish that. There's no really real point bringing that back. So it's a free banish. And the fairies, depending on I'll explain it when we get there, but there are combinations of fairies that also equal 2000 attack. So we don't have to always banish Drytrons, and we're playing the Beta, and the Beta can bring them back. So we are using Draconids a lot more as a boss monster turn 1 rather than just a finisher in turn 3. And so that's why we're playing a couple more with Drytrons. For the fairies, we're playing 1 Benton, 1 Egerton, 1 Diviner, and this, I've kind of thrown it in a little bit last minute, and with testing we'll see how this goes, but sometimes we want an extra extender just to maybe round out an Appaloosa for 4, or finish with an IP as well. So we're going to play the Chaos Valkyria just as another searchable monster, or a searchable special summon that can be put onto the field. But pretty much if you open Prologue or Trap Trick, then you don't need to worry about committing your normal summon on the Buster Whelp. And the good thing I like about these 3 in particular is they all kind of work in and amongst themselves. So obviously you can search the Ben 10 off your Alpha as normal. tribute the alpha for the zeta, search out the diviner. If you don't open Buster Whelp, so you can search this as a normal summon, which is really good. Diviner can search either Egerton, or if you do pull back the Ben 10 as your first ritual summon and tribute it for something like Gamma, that's when you can search the Egerton, and Diviner can help get you into Meteonis. So you can use this engine quite nicely to kind of get all three of the pieces out of your deck, which is really nice. And it gives you some really easy Beatrice plays if you get that far. Obviously, playing Drytron, hand traps can hurt. So if you can make it to the Beatrice, then this is an easy Beatrice engine here as well, which is really nice with the Buster cards, because again, if you don't open the Buster Blader portion of your deck, but you open something like Prologue, Beatrice can also be a way of sending a dragon to the graveyard, so your Prologue is live. And if you don't need the Beatrice at all, but you can make it, you can even use it to send one dragon on your turn, which is going to be the banish fodder for Prologue, and then send the lock, the Dragon Buster extra deck lock, as the second send on your opponent's turn, to then obviously get the full value out of it. And then the Valkyrie is just a second target off of the Benton if you need it. Going into the spells, we're playing 3 Drytron Nova. I'm playing 3 Wear Off Thou. It's not once per turn, which is pretty cool. Obviously, it will burn you if you're not using it to normal summon Buster Whelp, but searches out Drytron names as well if we need to, so that's really good. And I'm still playing 2 Emergency. Obviously, the third one makes things more consistent, but it's also hard once per turn, and I figured with the search power that we're getting from Wear Off Thou, we can cut out on the Emergency. The last 3 spells are pretty standard, I think. Meteonis, Call By, and Foolish Burial. Foolish Burial just gives us another name, plus can also send a dragon in those circumstances where we need to. And Call By is just a good card. The traps, a few more traps because this is a Buster Blader variant. I'm playing 3 Imperm as my only hand trap. I'm playing 3 Prologue, playing 2 Trap Trick, and the 1 Memories. Now, typically, if you'd open the Memories, it also is a little bit of an issue, but we have ways in the extra deck of discarding it so that it's in the graveyard, and we can then still proceed with our Buster Blader players. All right, the extra deck. We are playing 2 Mubeta Fafnir, 1 Zeus, and 1 Beatrice. Unfortunately, I had to cut out the Downed just to make room for more. It's just specific text for certain hands, so I don't know if it's correct. I guess we'll find out in testing tonight. I'm playing 1 Herald as my target off of Diviner, playing 1 Buster Dragon and 1 Buster Blader Fusion. So obviously this is the Buster lock that we're going for. And then the rest of my extra deck is Link monsters. So we've got Appaloosa Boral Sword as our Link 4s, Unicorn as a Link 3, IP Masquerader. Protector Whelp is really good because if you open Prologue, we don't care about getting drolled, really. I mean, the drolls obviously stop off the searches, but if we can still get to Protector Whelp and we have opened Prologue already, or the Trap Trick, this just dumps the dragon to our graveyard. And then if we can link this off with the dragon itself. So, yeah, so it's another reason why I'm testing out this variant. In no way am I saying that this is better than the fairy version of the deck, but it's just something a little bit different, something fun to test out. And obviously, if the fairies get hit the ban list, then this is an option that you could play. For the last Link monsters, I'm playing 1 Liner. This is debatable whether or not I keep it. Barricade Ball Blocker is for if we open the Memories. So I don't know if it's worth committing 1 extra deck spot for those off chances where you open the 1 of in the deck, but we'll see. I'm putting it in there. It's a machine. I mean, I can ritual away it. It's only 1,000 attack, but we'll see. And the last Link monster is Anima. I have cut Link Karibo for Anima. I'm playing Lava Golem in the side deck, and typically I'm not making, if you're going to make Link Karibo, you don't really need the arrow. So I'm using Anima because there will be times where my opponent will just play into it, and I'll just get something for nothing essentially, which will be good. The side deck that I'm playing, with my siding for combo, I'm going with more just board breaker cards. So I've got Lava Golem. Nibiru is obviously a hand trap, but then I've also got for combo Dark Ruler. So between these 9 cards, this should cover most of the matchups that would otherwise be problematic, that I'm expecting to face as well. And I'm siding 1 Natasha just because I had a 15th spot and thought I'm already playing the other 2 Cyber Angels. And typically these are still the Ben 10 and the Ida 10. Even if you open Buster Whelp, you still go through the Ben 10 and the Ida 10 as your search targets for, or just as ritual monsters to use as fodder for the Drytrons. So the Natasha can still definitely come up. 3 Twin and 1 Harpies, 1 Reboot for those control decks. So that's the side deck that we're playing. And what I'll do is I'll just show off a couple of test hands. I don't really have necessarily combos as such, because they don't look very impressive. If I just did an Alpha Zeta by itself, the end result is definitely not the same as a 5 negate Herald of Ultimateness. So what I'll do is I'll just do some test hands instead and show you kind of what the deck is aiming to do. All right, so getting ready for test hand number 1. We have Where Art Thou, Trap Trick, Diviner, Call by the Grave, and Foolish Burial. Okay, so this is pretty good. Obviously, just looking at this at first, we have the engine for Buster Blader, which is good. So throughout this test hand, we are going to need to put a dragon into the graveyard, which shouldn't be too tricky because we already have access to Diviner, so that should help set up a Beatrice play at some point. So to start this off, we will normal summon the Diviner, and of course we're going to send the Arclight, activating the Arclight's effect to add the Benton. Okay, what we'll do now is activate our Foolish Burial. And because we've already got Ben 10 and we don't need to really rely on the Alpha, we'll send the Zeta here. So now we can activate the Zeta, tributing the Ben 10 for cost, summoning out the Zeta, searching our ritual spell. And then activating Ben 10, and because we've already got the Diviner, we'll search the Editon here. One thing I might potentially do is change the Valkyria for a 1 Lancia, but we'll see. From here, we now control level 1, so Where Art Thou is pretty free. And this can then obviously grab our second name, which we're going to be using Delta, because we still want to get into Fafnir. All right, now we can activate Delta, tributing Editon to summon. We will reveal our ritual spell and draw a card. Oh, awesome. Now we can, of course, overlay for Mubeta. Now, actually, because we drew into the Nova, we're going to use Mubeta to dump the Draconids, because we can just Nova out the Gamma now. So we can activate Nova. Oops, that's the extra deck. Summon out the Gamma. Okay, now what we are going to do here, we've obviously got a Diviner that's already level 6, so I don't see any reason why we can't just Meteornus Editon to bring back here. Obviously Editon's going to put the Meteornus back into our hand. This will give us a Beatrice, and Yep, so we'll overlay these. We'll do the Beatrice play now. Okay, from here we can from here we will you can link off the gamma just as a body, so we'll link off into our anima. We can activate the Medionus again. We'll pull off the material from the Drytron, move beta, and summon Ben 10. That's now engrave, and we can now gamma tribute Ben 10 to summon. Bring back another one, and the Ben 10 will activate to search, and this is where we get our Chaos Valkyria. So there we go, it is going to come up. All right, now because we have the Beatrice, we don't really need to worry about using the Beatrice to send. So we don't need to worry about making Protector Whelp here. So what we can actually just do is from here, we can. Oh, the anima is actually going to be. I know I was joking about. Well, I wasn't joking. I was saying how the anima is not usually a problem, but actually at the moment it's going to be a little bit of a problem. We'll target the move beta and add back our ritual spell, and we can fire that off and turn these two into our Draconids. Yeah, actually the anima is really locking us out at the moment, which is a problem. Okay, so what we'll just do instead is these two can go into our liner. And we don't really need to do anything with the Chaos Valkyria. Obviously, we're not summoning an IP here. Hypothetically, we could use something like Beatrice to put our dragon into the graveyard now. And yeah, I mean, we can summon the Chaos Valkyria. This is obviously using a lot more resources. It would be better just to hold this and use the Beatrice maybe to even send the alpha just as another name, or the beta, because we're going to be banishing with the Medionus. But what we'll do is we'll go all in on this. We can get rid of the anima to summon the Valkyria, and we can link off Beatrice and Valkyria for IP. And this is obviously serves two purposes, being either we could use this to go into Appaloosa, and we'll set these two. So what I like about this, obviously the callback was really good there as well, stopping a hand trap, but the opponent is inclined to try and do something about this. Because this in its own presents a bit of a problem. So the thing I like about this is that it's two levels of defense. So for example, if your opponent had something like a Dark Ruler, then there's a chance that they would want to be using it on this to stop all of what's happening up here. Obviously the line is just a bit of an insurance policy if the board gets outed, but we can IP into Appaloosa with all of these if we need to. The Medionus is sending two things, so targets and then sends by banishing the monsters from our grave. We could even hold the call by the grave if we wanted to go into Unicorn as another option, but this presents enough disruption to make your opponent a lot more wary of it. And if they can somehow get through this, or if, depending on what the deck is, you're not worried about something like Dark Ruler, firing off Trap Trick is really free. So if you don't know what the combo is, I'll just quickly show you, but we'd go into our opponent's turn and activate Trap Trick. Trap Trick would banish, a prologue, and it would set a prologue, which we would activate as soon as we need it. So activate the prologue. It sends for cost, so it sends 1 Destruction Sword card, being memories, and 1 Buster Blader monster. And it's specifically from deck. This is why if we open one of the pieces, it's annoying. The memories can be discarded, so this is the true brick here. If we draw this, it's obviously not usable, but we can discard this with the Barricade Ball Blocker. But these get sent to the graveyard as cost. Then what we would do is go into Chainlink 2, and we'd activate memories as Chainlink 2. So memories would banish itself for cost. This is the interaction point for our opponent if they want to use something like Bell, and this is where the Bell is probably the best hand trap against this list specifically, because it does hit a lot of the Drytrons, but it also hits this point of the Buster Blader combo. But when memories resolves, it banishes the materials for a fusion summon. So we banish our Dragon and our Buster Blader, and then that would summon out the fusion, and then the prologue would resolve to summon out the synchro. And so what this does, if you don't know, Buster Dragon turns all our opponent's monsters into dragons, and Buster Blader switches all dragons in our opponent controls changes all dragon type monsters your opponent controls to defense position. Also, dragon type monsters your opponent's possession cannot activate their effects. And then he also gains 1,000 attack and defense for every dragon your opponent controls or in their graveyard, and it inflicts piercing. So it becomes a really big house if they go through a lot of monsters before you activate this. Going into turn 2 or turn 3, this just becomes huge. So we can pretty swiftly clean it up from there. And the Buster Dragon destroys itself in the end phase of the next turn, which is our turn 3, which we're hopefully already closing it out. So you can see kind of the end board that we're trying to go for here with this test hand. I'll just do one more because I've kind of already shown you this is kind of what the deck does. I'll just do one more game for our second test hand. I'll try this one a little bit quicker. The first one took a little bit longer, but I'm still trying to work out the ins and outs of this strategy also. Well, obviously this is very unfortunate, and this presents a problem. One strategy I was actually thinking of, I actually took out the fairies, and instead of the Ben 10, Edaton, and Diviner, I was playing 1 Magic Key World, 1 Badass Buster, 1 of the other few Ritual, and 1 of the Math T spell, because Magic Key World adds the Math T and then puts 1 card back. So if you had this or memories, you could put it back. But unfortunately, this is just going to be Drytron. We're just going to pretty much ignore these 2 cards. These aren't going to be used in any capacity here because we can still get to Ben 10 and Diviner here. So let's see what we can do with just the pure Drytron. So we'll obviously fire off Nova first. Nova for Alpha. It's probably better to Nova for Zeta. Yeah, it's definitely better to Nova for Zeta. This plays around Bell a little bit. So we'll Nova for the Zeta. And we can activate the emergency to grab the Alpha. Doing it this way specifically because it plays around Bell. Because if we did the Alpha first and linked off, yes, we get 1 extra body, but playing into Bell really is not a good thing to do. And we can obviously fire off the Wear Off Thou now as well, and just grab Gamma because that's the next best one, and we can decide what we're gonna send with the Mu Beta. Probably going to be Delta. We are going to be obviously taking 2,000 at the end of this turn. So tribute the Alpha for Zeta for Alpha. Grabbing our Ben 10. Tributing our Ben 10 for Zeta. Grabbing the Ritual spell. And the Diviner off the Ben 10. Now we can overlay for Mu Beta. And we can send the Delta. We will be able to get to Draconids through Diviner, or Beatrice even, depending on how we go with this. So let's now go for a normal summon Diviner. Send Herald. Herald effect. Let's grab Draconids here. Delta to tribute Draconids and summon. No, won't do that. We'll do Delta tribute Gamma to summon. Keeps one body in the hand. Delta will reveal a ritual monster or ritual spell to draw one card. Oh, well, there you go. That's not too bad. Because we were going to... but now we can use Gamma. Oh, wait, we need to actually get a body into the grave first. So we can... Meteonus. Let's pull back the Ben 10. And now we contribute the Ben 10 for the Gamma. And bring back Alpha. And the tributed Ben 10 is going to now search the Editon. So this will help us get into Beatrice. And we do have a lot of extenders here. So, I mean, one thing we could do if we didn't want to end on Draconids is we could... This is going to be the best. This is just one of our best disruptions that we have going first. Especially because we don't have access to our Buster engine because we opened the brick. But what we can do here, let's not play around Nibiru. One thing we could do is just go 1, 2, 3, 4 into Appaloosa, but it's not necessarily the best thing to do. All right, what we're going to do is we can target the Delta to add back the ritual spell. Now, if we want to get access to Editon, we kind of need to use it now, but I'm trying to save this because I'd love to use this for a spell trap negation as well. So we can, but that means we're going to be one name short. Yeah, we are going to be one name short. That's unfortunate. All right, we're not going to get the spell trap negate. We're just going to we'll activate the Meteonus. We'll turn Alpha into Editon. Editon can add this back. Here we have Beatrice. Well, actually, to be honest, we don't even need Beatrice because we have access to really everything that we need. So let's not do that, actually. Let's keep Diviner. Keep Editon, put Alpha on the field. We'll still add this back by using Delta, but now we can actually just use this, turn these two into the Draconids. And we can just turn these into an IP Masquerader as an end board. Now, obviously, we still have, we've kept this for later. If we want to, we could have done this a little bit differently and turned this into, like, so IP, the Moo Beta, and put these out and gotten into Appaloosa by using the material of Moo Beta and summoning the Valkyria and making Appaloosa with the Draconids. But we're not really worrying about Nibiru or anything like that. We're just going to play this out the way it has. Obviously, this loads up our graveyard with a lot of Drytron names ready for next turn. And yeah, we've got some follow-up with Editon and Valkyria in our hand. But yeah, so that's kind of what the deck's aiming to do. Now, like I said, it's not full power Drytron, obviously. It's not a million negates with a Herald. It's something different. And I'm just looking forward to seeing how it goes. But otherwise, thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed.